Good evening. This is All India Radio. I am Nishit Kumar and with me is Aditi Lumba with the evening news. The headlines. Counting of votes underway for assembly elections in Bihar. Trends show NDA likely to cross majority mark. NDA wins 19 assembly seats and leads in 107. Counting also on for bypolls to 58 assembly seats in 11 states. BJP wins 29 seats and leads in 10. JDU retains Valmiki Nagar Lok Sabha seat in Bihar. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says India expects full support from SCO for reform multilateralism, reiterates India's stand on regional peace and united voice against terrorism. COVID recovered cases in the country cross 79 lakh mark, which is highest in the world. And in IPL cricket, title clash underway between Delhi Capitals and Mumbai Indians in Dubai. As the nation fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki doori for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. Counting of votes is underway for assembly elections in Bihar and bypolls to 58 assembly seats in 11 states. In Bihar, as per the trends available, NDA has won 19 assembly seats and is ahead on 107 seats, while the Grand Alliance has bagged 12 seats and is leading on 95 seats. Others are leading in 10 constituencies. In 243-member assembly, majority mark is 122. There will be an average of 35 rounds of counting in each constituency and the final results are expected by late night. JDU candidate Sunil Kumar has won the Valmiki Nagar Lok Sabha seat. He defeated Pravesh Kumar Mishra of the Congress. The Election Commission has directed that officials engaged in counting need not be in haste or hurry to declare results, and they should follow all procedures and take time as naturally required. Briefing media this evening, Secretary General of the Election Commission, Umesh Sinha, said counting of the Bihar Assembly election is underway very smoothly, but it will take some time due to the protocols for the COVID-19 pandemic.
As the process of polls were modified, similarly the norms of the counting arrangements were also modified. Instead of 14 counting tables in a hall, generally we have 7 counting tables kept in every counting hall except the places where much bigger halls are available. The Commission has directed that the counting officials need not be in a haste or hurry to declare the results, and they should follow all the procedures and take as much time as it is naturally required. Considering the above facts, it is natural that it will take some more time than the normal time. Results may come till late night.
Deputy Election Commissioner Ashish Kundra said as far as Bihar is concerned, on the whole 7,737 scheduled rounds were there, of which 4,858 have been completed. He said 119 constituencies have done more than half of the work which was there for counting. Mr. Kundra said 18 constituencies have less than 1,000 margin, 50 constituencies have 1,000 to 5,000 margin, and 67 constituencies have 5,000 to 10,000 margin. Deputy Election Commissioner Chandrabhushan Kumar said almost 2/3 votes have been counted, which is 2.74 crore votes out of 4.11 crore votes. Mr. Kumar rejected an allegation that postal ballot counting was stopped in between.
Counting is also underway for by-election to the state assemblies in Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Manipur, Nagaland, Karnataka, Odisha, Chhattisgarh, Haryana, Jharkhand and Telangana. Bypolls to 54 assembly seats in 10 states took place on 3rd of this month, while 4 assembly seats in Manipur went to bypolls on 7th of this month. In Madhya Pradesh, the BJP has got huge success in the by-elections in 28 assembly seats in the state, while the Congress received a major setback. Of the 11 results declared so far, 10 have been won by the BJP and 1 by the Congress. The BJP is leading in 9 seats and Congress in 8 seats. More from a correspondent.
The voters of Madhya Pradesh have once again reposed faith in the BJP. So far, the declared results and decisive trends have resolved all doubts about the stability of the government in the state, and the BJP government has got a clear majority. In these elections, the Congress has received major setback. Reacting on the election results, Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan said that the people of the state have once again decided to hand over the responsibility of Madhya Pradesh to the BJP, which is committed to development and welfare. As per the information, 11 out of 14 ministers of the state have won the election, while Imarti Devi, Endal Singh Kanshana and Giriraj Dandotia are on the verge of defeat as of now. BJP has received about 10% more votes from Congress in these by-elections. At the same time, BJP has increased the vote percentage considerably compared to the previous assembly elections. Sanjeev Sharma, AIR News, Bhopal.
In Gujarat, ruling BJP has backed all 8 seats. In Uttar Pradesh, ruling BJP has won 6 out of 7 seats, which went for by-poll. Samajwadi Party also backed 1 seat. Results of all 7 seats have been declared by Election Commission. More from a correspondent.
BJP won Devariya, Bangarmau, Ghatampur, Bulandshahr, Naugama Sadat and Tundla seats, while Samajwadi Party won Malhani seat of Jaunpur district. Tough fight was seen at Naugama Sadat and Malhani seats. At Malhani, the SP candidate won by a margin of only 4,632 votes. Here, independent candidate Dhananjay Singh came on second position and BJP candidate is on third position. At Naugama Sadat also, initially the Samajwadi Party candidate was leading, but later the BJP candidate and wife of former cricketer Chetan Chauhan, Sangeeta Chauhan, comfortably defeated her rival by a margin of more than 15,000 votes. Both BJP and Samajwadi Party have retained their seats which they won in last elections. Sushil Chandra Tiwari, AIR News, Lucknow.
In Jharkhand, JMM candidate Basant Soren has won from Dumka by 6,500 votes, while Congress candidate Kumar Jaimangal has won from Burmo seat by a margin of over 14,000 votes. In Manipur, the ruling BJP has won 2 assembly seats and leading 1, while an independent candidate is leading on 1 seat. In Nagaland, Nationalist Democratic Progressive Party has backed 1 seat, while independent candidate backed another seat which went to by-polls. In Karnataka, BJP has backed both seats which went to by-polls. In Telangana, BJP candidate has won the Dubakka seat. In Odisha, the ruling Biju Janata Dal candidates are leading in both Tirtol and Balasore Sadar Assembly seats.
Now we have in the studio our correspondent Anupam Mishra to discuss the Bihar election and the by-poll results with political analyst Ashok Tandon.
Welcome Mr. Tandon to AIR News in this special discussion.
Hello.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Sir, the results of the Bihar Assembly polls is totally different from the prediction of the exit polls. How you see the results?
The exit polls have gone wrong on many other occasions as well, and so this time going wrong is no exception. People take exit polls just with a pinch of salt. It's an entertainment till the counting starts. So therefore, one should not be surprised why all the pollsters this time have gone wrong. Not a single exit poll predicted a close fight. And so what we are seeing in the trends is a very, very close fight, cliffhanger fight. So therefore, there is always a question mark about the credibility of the exit polls, but you can't stop them in a democracy. They have a right to do anything, but they are going wrong. Obviously, is a question mark about their credibility.
Mr. Tandon, there was a lot of talks about anti-incumbency against Nitish Kumar-led NDA government in the state, but people have voted the alliance. In your view, what was the reason?
See, anti-incumbency, nowadays we see more of pro-incumbency, seeing in the results. It has happened at the center in 2019, and it has happened in several states also. So the anti-incumbency is now a cliche. Many states have returned the incumbent governments, so the pro-incumbency factors have also worked. And in Bihar particularly, if you look at the trends so far, the NDA is still in the lead. And that shows that, but the fact is that there is certainly anti-incumbency against the sitting MLAs, and that is quite visible in Bihar because JDU repeated most of its sitting MLAs and ministers, and the result is before us. Several ministers are trailing, but the BJP on the other hand changed quite a lot of its candidates, and the result also seems to be positive. So anti-incumbency is a factor which works both ways. It's against the MLAs and sometimes it's against the government also. But in this case we see there is hardly any incumbency visible against Nitish Kumar. In fact, the reports which are coming in from Patna are that women by and large voted Nitish Kumar. They supported Nitish Kumar. And on top of it, if you look at the campaign which the Prime Minister did so vigorously and, highlighted the central schemes which have benefited the poor, the farmers, the downtrodden and the migrant labor, all these schemes which, the central scheme which have percolated down to the grassroots level, that also converts any anti-incumbency against the state government into some kind of a pro-incumbency of the central government also. So the Prime Minister's image as a popular leader, the schemes which the central government has announced in the last 5-6 years, all these factors have made it a sort of a balanced act, and therefore that's why NDA is still in lead.
Mr. Tandon, do you feel that people have chosen development and rejected casteism, which has been a big factor in elections in the state?
See, in Bihar, every time we talk of the caste, factor, caste is a factor. There is no doubt about it, and accordingly, parties also choose their candidates, and so there is no exception to that. And all parties, whether it is Mahagathbandhan or NDA, they keep in mind the caste combination and the caste factor. But sometimes the caste factor gets neutralized, and therefore the development factor comes in. And development factor is that both the developmental activities and programs and policies of the state government as well as the central government policies, both are actually the developmental agenda. And publicly, both Mahagathbandhan and NDA were talking about the development agenda. But the fact remains at the grassroots level, at the lower level, particularly in the rural areas, caste is a factor. And that is reflected sometime in the election results also, but it's too early to analyze these things. We are all waiting for the final results to come, and the most important thing is first who forms the government. So after that, once all the results are out, these analyses would be done, and caste factor will also be considered whether it was effective or not.
Mr. Tandon, how do you see the results of the by-polls in different states?
See, by-poll, by and large, have gone on expected lines. In fact, if I may say so, the exit polls were correct as far as the by-poll in 11 states were predicted in the exit polls. And the BJP has done tremendously well, particularly in the states where it is ruling. And Gujarat is a classic example. All 8 seats going to BJP. And again, I think very interesting and important results of the by-elections in Madhya Pradesh, because there were a lot of things at stake. One was the survival of the Shivraj government, which they needed just 8 seats, and now they have won about 19 or 20 seats, and also the factor how relevant is Kamal Nath as far as the Congress leadership is concerned. Kamal Nath has conceded defeat. They are leading only in about 9 seats. But another very significant factor in Madhya Pradesh was the popularity of Jyotiraditya Scindia, and he has performed very well. He has delivered what Prime Minister Modi expected from him. So therefore, the Madhya Pradesh results are also a feather in the cap of the BJP. And then again, UP, a lot of talk was there about the law and order issue, etc. But the BJP has retained all the seats it had, 6 out of 7. And you look around, so I think by and large, Karnataka, both the seats have been won. Nagaland, they have won. Manipur they have won. But the result in the Odisha by 2 by-elections was on expected line. The result in Jharkhand was on expected line. The result in Chhattisgarh was on expected line. And the Congress, of course, has won 1 seat in Haryana. So by and large, I think it's a very satisfactory result in these by-polls, state by-polls, as far as BJP is concerned. But Congress must be, analyzed. Things have gone wrong in Gujarat, where things have gone wrong even in Madhya Pradesh, and leave aside Karnataka and Uttar Pradesh.
In view of COVID-19 pandemic, the Election Commission made several special arrangements during voting and also during counting today. What do you think about it, sir?
I think the country must thank the Election Commission for conducting such a sensitive election, because Bihar has always been a very sensitive state. On top of it, there were floods and then pandemic. All these factors I think the Election Commission has proved all the prophets of doom wrong, because there were a lot of prediction, forecast, and people were predicting that the elections can't be held during pandemic, but they have done a remarkable job. Also, I think the security forces have done a commendable job in maintaining law and order in Bihar during the election, during the polling, and also during the counting. So all the agencies, state government and grassroots level, the district administration, election commission, they have done wonderful job. And the arrangements also, of course, social distancing norm were not being strictly adhered to at number of places. People are not even wearing masks. But by and large, if you look at it, I think India has proved that even during pandemic, Indian democracy is at work, and people of India are matured enough to even come out and cast vote, because the voter turnout also was remarkably up to the mark. And all these factors put together, I think we all can be proud of Indian democracy.
Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Tandon.
Thank you.
You're listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Counting of votes underway for assembly elections in Bihar. Trends show NDA likely to cross majority mark. NDA wins 19 assembly seats and leads in 107. Counting also on for by-polls to 58 assembly seats in 11 states. BJP wins 29 seats and leads in 10. JDU retains Valmiki Nagar Lok Sabha seat in Bihar. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says India expects full support from SCO for reformed multilateralism, reiterates India's stand on regional peace and united voice against terrorism. COVID recovered cases in the country crossed 79 lakh mark, which is highest in the world. And in IPL cricket, title clash underway between Delhi Capitals and Mumbai Indians in Dubai. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alert.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो खुद से वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said India expects full support from SCO for a reform multilateralism that reflects today's global realities. Addressing the 20th summit of SCO Council of Heads of State via video conferencing today, Mr. Modi said the United Nations has completed 75 years, but the basic goal of the United Nations is still incomplete.
महामारी की आर्थिक और सामाजिक पीड़ा से जूझ रहे विश्व की अपेक्षा है ये यूएन की व्यवस्था में आमूल-चूल परिवर्तन आए. भारत 2021 से यूएन सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल में एक गैर स्थायी सदस्य के रूप में भाग लेगा. हमारा ध्यान वैश्विक शासन विधि में संभावित बदलाव लाने पर केंद्रित होगा. एक रिफॉर्म मल्टीलेटरलिज्म जो आज की वैश्विक वास्तविकताओं को दर्शाए, जो सभी स्टेक होल्डर्स की अपेक्षाओं, समकालीन चुनौतियां और मानव कल्याण जैसे विषयों पर चर्चा करें. इस प्रयास में हमें एससीओ सदस्य राष्ट्रों का पूर्ण समर्थन मिलने की अपेक्षा है.
Mr. Modi reiterated India's firm belief in regional peace, security and prosperity and raising voice against terrorism, smuggling of illegal weapons, drugs and money laundering.
भारत का शांति, सुरक्षा और समृद्धि पर दृढ़ विश्वास है और हमने हमेशा आतंकवाद, अवैध हथियारों की तस्करी, ड्रग्स और मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग के विरोध में आवाज उठाई है. भारत एससीओ चार्टर में निर्धारित सिद्धांतों के अनुसार एससीओ के तहत काम करने की अपनी प्रतिबद्धता में दृढ़ रहा है. परंतु यह दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है कि एससीओ एजेंडा में बार बार अनावश्यक रूप से द्विपक्षीय मुद्दों को लाने के प्रयास हो रहे हैं जो एससीओ चार्टर और संघाई स्पिरिट का उल्लंघन करते हैं. इस तरह के प्रयास एससीओ को परिभाषित करने वाली सर्वसम्मति और सहयोग की भावना के विपरीत है.
The Prime Minister said during the difficult times of pandemic, Indian pharma industry supplied essential medicines to over 150 countries.
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सभी सुखी और सभी रोगमुक्त रहे, यह शांति मंत्र भारत के समस्त मानव कल्याण के प्रति आस्था का प्रतीक है। अभूतपूर्व महामारी के इस अत्यंत कठिन समय में भारत के फार्मा उद्योग ने 150 से अधिक देशों को आवश्यक दवाएं भेजी हैं। दुनिया के सबसे बड़े वैक्सीन उत्पादक देश के रूप में भारत अपनी वैक्सीन उत्पादन और वितरण क्षमता का उपयोग इस संकट से लड़ने में पूरी मानवता की मदद करने के लिए करेगा।
The Prime Minister underlined India's strong cultural and historical connect with the SCO region and reiterated India's firm commitment towards strengthening connectivity in the region with initiatives like International North-South Transport Corridor, Chabahar Port and Ashgabat Agreement. He also extended full support to observing the 20th anniversary of SCO in 2021 as the SCO Year of Culture and spoke of India's own initiatives to hold the first SCO exhibition on shared Buddhist heritage to be organized by National Museum of India, SCO Food Festival in India next year, and the translation of 10 regional language literary works into Russian and Chinese. Mr. Modi expressed India's readiness to host the next regular meeting of SCO Council of Heads of Government on 30th of this month in virtual format. India has also proposed to set up a special working group on innovation and startups and a subgroup on traditional medicine within SCO. He elaborated on India's vision of a Atmanirbhar Bharat, self-reliant India in the post-pandemic world.
Government today said that the recovered cases in the country has crossed 79 lakhs, which is highest in the world. Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan stated this during a media briefing in New Delhi today.
इस समय रिकवर्ड केसेस 79 लाख हो गए हैं, जो कि विश्व में सबसे बड़ी संख्या है। और अगर इसे औसत रूप में देखें तो पिछले सप्ताह प्रतिदिन रिकवर होने वाले मरीजों की संख्या 51,400 से अधिक थी। वैसे ही हमने लगभग अब 12 करोड़ टेस्ट कंडक्ट कर लिए हैं, 11.96, और पिछले सप्ताह जो टेस्ट हुए अगर उनका औसत देखें तो प्रतिदिन हमने 11,18,000 से ज्यादा टेस्ट किए।
Mr. Bhushan said India's active COVID-19 cases account for 5.83% of the total infections and over 92% patients have recovered. He said the cumulative positivity rate is 7.18%.
11,18,000 टेस्ट हर दिन करने के बावजूद जो पॉजिटिविटी रेट है वो अभी भी घट रहा है और अब वो घटकर 7.18% हो गया है। यदि हम 24 घंटे के पॉजिटिविटी रेट देखें पिछले सप्ताह में तो वो और भी नीचे हैं और 4.2% है। अभी भी हम विश्व में सबसे कम केस पर मिलियन वाले देशों में से एक हैं। केस पर मिलियन पॉपुलेशन अब 6,225 है हमारे देश में, जबकि विश्व का एवरेज वो 6,400 केस प्रति मिलियन है और अनेक देश ऐसे हैं जहां ये 30,000 तक भी है प्रति मिलियन।
The Secretary said in India, 235 new cases per million population were reported in the last 7 days, whereas global average of new cases per million population stands at 482. He said India's deaths per million population is also amongst the lowest in the world, standing at 92 deaths per million population. Mr. Bhushan said India recorded average of 3 new deaths per million population in the last 7 days, whereas global average stood at 7 new deaths per million population. The Secretary urged people that during the ongoing festive season to wear masks covering the nose and mouth, maintain physical distancing and wash hands regularly. Replying to a query, Mr. Bhushan said the National Expert Group on COVID-19 Vaccine Administration is in dialogue with all vaccine manufacturers, including domestic manufacturers and foreign manufacturers. The National Green Tribunal, NGT, has imposed a total ban on the sale and use of firecrackers in the Delhi NCR region till the 30th of this month. A bench headed by the tribunal's chairperson, Adarsh Kumar Goel, said that the ban will be applicable in cities and towns where the air quality is in the poor category. The NGT, however, allowed the sale of green crackers in cities and towns where air quality is moderate or below, but said bursting of crackers will be restricted to 2 hours during festivals like Diwali, Chhath, Christmas and New Year's Eve. Currently, the state governments have their own set of guidelines with regard to permitting or banning the sale and use of firecrackers during the festive season.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the state-of-the-art office cum residential complex of Income Tax Appellate Tribunal at Cuttack tomorrow via video conferencing. The jurisdiction of Cuttack bench extends to the whole of Odisha. The Cuttack bench of ITAT was created and started functioning from 23rd May 1970. Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank has said that the government is committed to establish India as a global hub of education. While virtually inaugurating the National Education Day program of IIT Bombay today, the minister said it is necessary to move forward with cooperation, coordination and agreement with the leading universities of the world to ensure high quality of education. He said this has been incorporated in National Education Policy of 2020 by inviting top 100 world universities to set up campuses in India. Mr. Pokhriyal highlighted that IIT Bombay is a leading global technological institution that provides transformative education to create leaders and innovators. Hunar Haat will restart from tomorrow after a gap of about 7 months due to corona pandemic. Minority Affairs Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi will inaugurate the Hunar Haat at Delhi Haat at Pitampura. The theme of this event is Vocal for Local, where indigenous exquisite products made from mati, clay, metal and machiya, wooden and jute products will be the major attraction.
Equity benchmarks today zoomed to log fresh record highs amid mixed global cues. The BSE 30 share index Sensex crossed 43,000 mark, while the NSE Nifty 50 index ended above 12,600 level. A report from the Business World.
The Sensex climbed 680 points or 1.6% to settle at 43,278. The NSE Nifty 50 index also surged 170 points or 1.36% to settle at 12,631. In the forex market, the rupee depreciated 4 paise and settled at 73 rupees and 18 paise against the US dollar. Gold prices declined 662 rupees to 50,338 rupees per 10 grams in the Delhi bullion market. And in intraday trade, Brent crude prices were trading around $42.80 per barrel, while WTI crude prices were around $40.50 per barrel. Rajesh Lake with Sanjeev Kumar Singh for AIR News.
In sports, in the final match of IPL cricket, Delhi Capitals were 135 for 4 and 16.5 overs against Mumbai Indians in Dubai when reports last came in. Earlier, Delhi Capitals had won the toss and chose to bat. Delhi entered the first ever final with a convincing 17-run victory over Sunrisers Hyderabad in the second qualifier in Abu Dhabi. In women's cricket, Trail Blazers clinched the T20 Challenge title in Sharjah last night after beating defending champions Supernovas by 16 runs. The Supernovas had won both the earlier editions of the Women's T20 Challenge. Now, let us take a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. The national capital will have moderate fog. The minimum temperature will be 11 degrees Celsius and the maximum will be around 29 degrees. In Mumbai, sky will be mainly clear. The minimum temperature in the metropolis will be 20 degrees Celsius and the maximum will be around 34 degrees. Chennai will have thunderstorm with rain. The temperature will hover between 22 and 31 degrees Celsius. Kolkata is expected to have mainly clear sky with temperature varying between 20 and 33 degrees Celsius. And on to the north, in Srinagar, there will be mainly clear sky becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. The minimum temperature will be -1 degree Celsius while the maximum will be around 18 degrees. In Jammu, lower level of temperature will be 13 degrees Celsius while the upper level will be around 28 degrees with mainly clear sky. In Leh, sky will be partly cloudy, becoming generally cloudy towards afternoon or evening or night. Minimum temperature will be -1 degree Celsius while the maximum will be around 12 degrees. Gilgit will also see a clear sky becoming partly cloudy and generally cloudy towards afternoon or evening or night with temperature hovering between -1 and 21 degrees Celsius. In Muzaffarabad, sky will be mainly clear, becoming mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening, and the temperature will move from 5 to 26 degrees Celsius. In Dehradun, the temperature will hover between 11 and 28 degrees Celsius. City will have mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Chandigarh will have mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy, with temperature oscillating between 12 and 29 degrees Celsius. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Counting of votes underway for assembly elections in Bihar. Trends show NDA likely to cross the majority mark. NDA wins 42 assembly seats and leads in 83. Counting also on for bypolls to 58 assembly seats in 11 states. BJP wins 29 seats and leads in 10. JDU retains Valmiki Nagar Lok Sabha seat in Bihar. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says India expects full support from SCO for reform multilateralism, reiterates India's stand on regional peace and united voice against terrorism. COVID recovered cases in the country crosses 79 lakh mark, which is highest in the world. And in IPL cricket, title clash underway between Delhi Capitals and Mumbai Indians in Dubai. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website newsonair.com and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.